talk about the shape and variability of data. You should have taken the two different pieces of paper and glued them down so that you have four flaps. Okay. On the bottom flap under MAD, I need you to copy down this table. So you might want to take a moment to flip up the MAD tab and copy down this table. Pause the video, copy it down, and then we'll come back to it in a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to start with measures of center. Now, under the measures of center, I want you to flip up that flap, and I want you to write down that measures of center is a value that describes how data is centered. So it is a value that measures how data is centered. For example, some of our measures of center, example, are mean, median, and mode. Okay, that's it for measures of center. Underneath measures of variability, I'd like you to write a value that describes how data is spread out. A value that describes how data is spread out. And our examples for this are range, the IQR, or the interquartile range, or the mean absolute deviation. Okay, so all of this vocabulary right now should be pretty new in terms of mean, median, mode, range, and IQR. However, the mean absolute deviation is something new. So MAD. We're going to talk about what is MAD. So you should have gone ahead and copied down this chart on the back of the flap. And we're going to go through the steps to calculate our mean average deviation. So our first step is going to be to calculate the mean. So first we want to calculate the mean. Now we're going to add up all of our numbers, and then we're going to divide by the total number of numbers. So we've got 8 numbers, so we know that our mean, or our x bar, is going to be divided by 8. Now we got to figure out what goes on top. 5 plus 6 is 11, plus 8 is 19, plus 14 is 33, plus 6 is 39, plus 7 is 46, plus 6 is 52, and plus 4 is 56. Now if we divide 56 by 8, we get 7. So I'm going to go ahead and put down in my table, across all 8 spots, that the mean is 7. Step 2 is to go ahead and actually find the difference. So our difference between our observed and our mean. So we are going to calculate x bar minus, other way around, x minus x bar. You may recognize that from the standard deviation equation. So 5 minus 7 Well, this is also the absolute deviation. So we are going to go ahead and take the absolute value of our observed minus the mean. And 5 minus 7 is negative 2. Absolute value of that is positive 2. 6 minus 7 is negative 1, but the absolute value of that is positive 1. 8 minus 7 is 1. 14 minus 7 is 7. 6 minus 7 is negative 1, but we take the absolute value, so we get positive 1. 7 minus 7 is 0. 6 minus 7 is negative 1, but we take the absolute value, so we get positive 1. And 4 minus 7 is negative 3, but again, we want the absolute value, so we take the positive 3. That is how we find our mean absolute deviation. Moving on to IQR. So, IQR. I want you to copy down a few values for me. So we're given the data set 4, 5, 6, 6, 7, 6, 14, and 8. Okay, so our first step is going to be to order the data from least to greatest. Order the data from least to greatest. So I'm going to go ahead and reorder my data. It will be 4, 5, 6, 6, 6, 7, 8, and 14. My second step will be to find the upper quartile and the lower quartile. I'm going to abbreviate that by saying find Q1 and Q3. Remember, Q1 is the upper quartile, and Q3 is the lower quartile. Okay, so first, in order to do that, I have to find the median. So if I find the median, it is directly in between 6 and 6, which means my median is going to be the average of that, which is 6. So then to find my, I have these switched, sorry. This one is the lower quartile, upper quartile. Okay, to find our lower quartile, we find the median of the lower half. So that is going to be in between this 5 and 6. Well, we take the average of that. 5 plus 6 is 11. I divide it by 2 and I get 5.5. So Q1 is 5.5. If I do the upper, it's in between 7 and 8, which should get me 7.5. So Q3 is equal to 7.5. Step 3 then is to actually calculate our IQR, which is equal to Q3 minus Q1. So in our case, that's 7.5 minus 5.5, which means my IQR is equal to 2. That's it. Now we're going to practice using MAD and IQR. Let me know if you have any questions.